Let's go Lions! Sunday is buzzing behind the scenes for the Detroit Lions, and I'm going to tell you why. We need to talk about Ben Johnson, the traitor, and we're also going to talk about Trey Hendrickson. Man, I don't know about you, but I think a bomb is about to drop. I'll tell you everything I've learned so far, but first, make sure you've already hit like if you think Dan Campbell is way better than Ben Johnson. Man, there's no doubt about it. But just to annoy him, write something like this: Go Dan Campbell, let's get to the Super Bowl. Ben Johnson has officially entered villain territory in Detroit, and Lions fans aren't holding back. The former offensive coordinator, now head coach of the Chicago Bears, is being labeled everything from Metal Gear Johnson to Benedict Snake for what many believe was a calculated betrayal. After flirting with head coaching jobs last offseason and ultimately staying in Detroit, Johnson made his move, but not just anywhere. He stayed within the division. And now, apparently, he's trying to copy Dan Campbell's entire formula. Same motivational tone, same talk about culture reset, same model. The only problem? It's not authentic. Reports from Bears training camp show chaos and confusion, including wide receivers throwing passes and highlight videos that look more like blooper reels. Johnson's flashy play designs, which sometimes hurt the Lions, are now Chicago's new toy, and Lions fans are watching closely. If that imitation goes south, and it very well might, he'll need more than a water bottle to survive in the NFC North. Let's get into this. The scenario couldn't be more frustrating for a fan base that has waited decades, 91 years, to be exact, for football glory. After 2 straight impressive seasons and a heart-wrenching near miss of the Super Bowl in 2023, the Detroit Lions are on the cusp of something monumental. Yet, instead of pushing chips into the middle of the table, GM Brad Holmes appears to be playing it safe. And now, looming like a dark cloud over Allen Park, is the possibility that Trey Hendrickson might land in Philadelphia. Let's put it bluntly, if Hendrickson ends up in Philly, it's not just a missed opportunity, it's a potential turning point. Mark Ross, an NFL analyst, recently suggested that the Eagles are in prime position to trade for Hendrickson. With over $32 million in available cap space and a front office known for its aggressive win-now mentality, Philadelphia could easily absorb Hendrickson's contract and add him to a defensive line already stacked with talent like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. This isn't a fantasy, it's a realistic scenario that could materialize before training camp begins. Now here's where the frustration sets in for Lions fans. Brad Holmes has made it clear. His eyes are set on a Super Bowl. He said it before the 2023 season, 2 words, Super Bowl. And we didn't even win the NFC Championship. Holmes has done wonders in rebuilding this roster, no question. But it feels like he's trying to construct a dynasty before he even wins a ring. That cautious approach, while commendable in some aspects, may be the very thing holding Detroit back from seizing this rare window of opportunity. You want to talk about pain? We're talking about a franchise that saw its best shot at glory crumble on January 26, 2024. One defensive stop, one pressure on Brock Purdy. That's all it would have taken. Instead, a lack of firepower on the edge allowed the 49ers to storm back, costing us our first Super Bowl appearance. And we're still talking about Marcus Davenport, an injury-prone signing, when guys like Zadarius Smith were available. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Rams gave up 4 first-round picks over 4 years. They brought in Matthew Stafford, yes, our old quarterback, and they won a Super Bowl. They even attempted to trade for Brian Burns with 2 more first-rounders. And guess what? That didn't destroy their team. In fact, they were a sack away from another NFC Championship berth. Same story in Philly. Howie Roseman doesn't hesitate. He sees an opening. He takes it. So why are we still sitting on our hands? Holmes has built a culture, a foundation, and brought in incredible young talent. But the NFL isn't patient. Windows don't stay open forever. You don't build a dynasty without taking the first step, winning it all. And Trey Hendrickson might be that missing piece. He might be the guy who brings the heat when it matters most. He might be the difference between heartbreak and history. If you're a Lions fan, this scenario should light a fire under you. We're not just talking about a defensive end. We're talking about an identity, about sending a message to the rest of the league that Detroit is done playing it safe, that we're ready to do what it takes. Because if we let Hendrickson go to Philly and they win it all again, we'll be left wondering, what if? And that's the question I leave you with right now. Do you believe Brad Holmes needs to make a bold move, like trading for Hendrickson, to finally push this team over the edge? Then let's not waste any time. Because here's the real kicker. The longer Brad Holmes waits, the smaller the margin for error becomes. Every day that Trey Hendrickson remains with the Bengals or lands on another contender's roster, Detroit inches closer to a dangerous place, the plateau. A team good enough to compete, but not bold enough to win it all. We've seen this before in sports. Teams that flirt with greatness but never get there. They build slowly, responsibly, but when the moment calls for a leap, they hesitate. And this moment, this is the leap moment, the kind of move that sends ripples through the entire league. You don't win championships by being careful. You win by taking calculated risks. And right now, the calculation couldn't be more clear. Look at what the Lions have built: an explosive offense with a rejuvenated Jared Goff, a sturdy offensive line, playmakers like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs, and a culture shift that's been a decade in the making. But what do all the great teams have in common when they finally reach the summit? Pressure. Relentless, game-changing pressure on the opposing quarterback. And right now, Detroit doesn't have it. Sure, Aiden Hutchinson has blossomed into a force, but he's being asked to do too much. Romeo Okwara's best days seem behind him, and Charles Harris hasn't stepped up consistently. The depth isn't there. The rotation doesn't intimidate. And in the postseason, that's where games are won or lost. That's why missing on Trey Hendrickson would sting so much. Not because he's the only answer, but because he's the answer right now. And what's most maddening about this situation is that the Lions have the flexibility. They had roughly $40 million in cap space before Frank Ragnow's temporary removal from the books. Even with pending extensions for guys like Goff, St. Brown, and Penei Sewell, a team with competent front office management can structure deals creatively. The Saints have been $100 million over the cap and still made major moves. If you want to win, you find a way. Holmes has shown glimpses of that killer instinct, trading up for Jameson Williams, snatching Sam Laporta and Brian Branch in one of the most impressive drafts in recent memory. But here, in this moment, with a 29-year-old Hendrickson likely costing a day 2 pick and a manageable contract, the hesitation feels safe. And safety is not the Detroit way, not anymore. We've changed. Dan Campbell changed us. We bite kneecaps now. We roar into primetime. And yet the front office still seems to act like we're rebuilding. We're not. We are 1 or 2 pieces away from something historic. And in the NFL, you don't get second chances. Ask the Bills. Ask the Ravens. Great teams that are still waiting. If we had Hendrickson in that NFC championship, we win. It's that simple. Even if just one of those second-half 49ers drives ended in a sack or a hurried throw, boom, the narrative changes. No more heartbreak. No more what-ifs. The fan base knows it too. You can feel the frustration bubbling. The patience that Holmes earned is starting to wear thin because we've tasted the postseason now. We've heard the national respect. We've seen our team dominate. And if we don't make a move to finish what we started, we risk losing that edge, that hunger. This is about more than one player. This is about sending a message to the locker room, to the league, and to every single fan that has bled Honolulu blue through decades of disappointment, that this time, we're not waiting for history. We're making it. So here's the final thought. Trey Hendrickson might not be the last chance, but he feels like the best one. And if the Eagles pull this off before we do, if we watch them lift another trophy while we sit home wondering what could have been, it won't just be a missed opportunity. It'll be a mistake. One that could define this era. Like this video if you believe Detroit is ready to win now. Subscribe if you want more deep dives on everything Lions. And right here on screen is another video where we talk about how Dan Campbell has transformed the culture in just 3 seasons. Click it now.